Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Three Questions. In some sort of elevated jungle treehouse, I found myself in. The winds blew me here.
The winds are winding.
They're winding. And I have found myself here, and I am with
Vanessa Montgomery from Astro All Stars. We're in Brisbane, Australia.
Yes, I have found myself in Australia again. Many of my channel members know I was going to be traveling, and I do these videos when I travel. I do interviews, and I just could not pass up the opportunity to talk with you, Vanessa.
Thanks so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And we've known each other for a bit now.
2019?
Maybe
6
it
years.
is 2019. I met online.
We did.
We did, and then
Doing Astro.
Yes, and for the first time earlier this year, when I was stopped by the FAA conference, it was the first time we met face to face.
We did.
Yeah.
We had all the Americans over. It was great at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it was great, and so it's finally good to meet you. And here we are again. My people watching know whoever I interview doesn't know the three questions. Okay, so we do this on the fly, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I might throw in a couple extra somethings too here when I do this. So, and what I love about this is the wind is with us today.
The wind is winding.
It's winning. It's here to add the trifecta. Okay, so saying that, are you ready for the first question?
I'm ready. What is the question?
All right, Vanessa.
Yes.
What is your earliest memory connected to astrology?
I don't know when and where, but I did know I was a Sagittarius. That's all I know.
And it was like you saw the centaur, like what was it, a constellation? But somehow you figured it out.
I somehow figured it out. Probably someone was reading horoscopes from the newspaper, and I just related. I thought that was great. It's great to be a Sagittarius.
Yes. Yeah. Great, all caps.
Great!
Yeah.
Exclamation marks times 5.
Yeah. Well, a little side part of this. In the past with astrology, when did it like start to infuse in you where you're like, oh, this is amazing. This is something, you know?
Really, only when a friend started studying at Astrosynthesis with Brian Clark and Glenys Lawton, and every week I saw her, she was talking about the charts she was doing, and I actually wasn't that interested with sun sign. It was when I knew what it really was, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And so I started studying where she studied, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and for how long I've known you and the way you do your astrology, and from your writing and other things and the books you publish, we'll talk about that later. You know, I could see the influence of some of the people you mentioned because I know about Brian Clark and so on and so forth, and I could see that. So yeah, okay, great. Yeah, thanks for answering the first question.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking it.
Yeah. All right, second question. What is your favorite astrological technique?
I think transits.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in Basic Bay, and it's the birth chart, and then everything building onto that as a foundation. So second to that is looking at transits to that birth chart.
Yeah.
100%.
And this goes into the other facets of who you are as an astrologer because you write columns.
I do.
Yeah, and this makes sense. And you currently you write a huge column, don't you, for Glamour magazine?
Yeah, so I'm actually officially their resident astrologer for Glamour.com USA, not the UK. And I do a weekly column there, which has been now since mid-2019.
Yeah. And in order to do something like that, you have to have your whole world wrapped around transits before, during, and after. You know, and I, you know, how you write that and how you guide somebody each week or each month, right? So
yeah, and I think, you know, I never thought I would be writing horoscopes because, you know, I learnt very technically, and it was actually a real challenge because you have to boil it down to such a point to fit everyone. So half of it's, you know, it's based on a technique, and then it's also intuitive. So that's why we love astrology as well, right? It's both. You marry the best of both worlds.
Yes, definitely. And I have to say, you know, I know we're friends, but still, you know, after knowing your work and reading it, you're one at the top there. I think the way you come across and the creativity that you have and the spirit in the words, like it's, to me, life and everything in life is a ritual and a mantra. and the power of words and what they can do when we speak to ourselves, so we speak to others.
The spell, put the spell back into the spelling.
Yeah, yeah. Not to put the pressure on you. I mean, this. So, I'm curious, when you're like in the creative process and you're writing these, obviously you have your system we've come to, but is there something more to it, right? It's not just words. And
it's very intuitive, like I said, and I actually prefer to write them late at night when I'm getting a bit tired, because I can just sort of open up that channel and let that writing flow. That's my favorite. I'm a real night owl like that when I work.
Yeah.
Preferably.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks for answering question number 2. I have a feeling there's going to be 2 more. I have to throw an extra one in here, but all right. Now, third one. Is there anything that you're reading right now that you've taken in that's not astrology based? Is there any books that you've been into lately, or certain ideas and concepts? Anything like inspiring you lately?
Actually, because I am putting together my talks for the AAGB conference coming up in late August, Astrological Association of Great Britain. I'm going over to deliver them in person, which I'm very excited about. I'm actually just reading for that, and it's not astrology, it's my research to fold into astrology. So it's actually a lot about bias in language, which I'm bringing to talk about why we should clear out the bias in astrology, particularly around gender. So one of the books also is about, one of the talks is about power. So I'm reading a lot about power, actually. There's 3 main books I'm focusing on. One's by James Hillman, one's Mary Beard, a classicist, and I think she's Dame, OBE, whatever those things are in the UK. And one's literally called The Power Code. So there's The Power Manifesto, I think it was. There's Power do you know that one, James Hillman?
Yeah, I know yeah, I do. So, okay, guys, I was going to ask you the Hillman book, which one you were talking about, because there's several. There's the Underworld book, that's kind of references the underworld. It's not called Pluto and the Underworld, but it's called something else, but it's a Plutonian type of book.
Yeah, no, this is about power and the uses of power. So, and then Mary Beard's they all cross over my talks, actually, and then I've been reading a lot of research. So it's a mixed bag of all those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which you might not be as interested in. But these books are fantastic. And I think to really understand archetypes in astrology, if we're going to talk about it, you want to explore deeper what those things are. So hence the power. The other talk's called The Myth Ain't Mythin'. So it's breaking down myths that we use in astrology, although the myths behind what we talk about, various sorts of angles there.
Yeah. And, it's interesting what I think, depending on where someone comes from. For instance, for me, like, I'm half Greek and half Ecuadorian. We all have our cultures and stories. Greek myth obviously is fueled pretty much a part of the world for hundreds, thousands of years.
I thought you were going to say fueled by misogyny, but
yeah, no, but no,
but
you went. No, this is what I love about you, because you went right there, and that's part of the deal.
Yeah,
it's part of the deal, and so in a sense, to come back to the lectures that you're doing, it has to do with this in a sense too, whether it's one about power or about myth, about what story is or how limited story can be. And that I think sometimes in the Western world too, we are limited with our stories. We don't go bother to see where another country or culture is, or lost stories.
And you're from various cultures, so they have different myths to explain the same sorts of archetypes, right? So it's really interesting to look at what those are and how they differ, etc., and how they may actually also dovetail in different places.
Yes, whether you're talking about like misogyny, or you're talking about, I think too, sometimes it's either this or that, a binary way of thinking, that when you start to look at other cultures and myths, and you realize in deeper ones that they have different goddesses or stories or animals that represent it, and some of them are androgynous, or they change from one to the other and they represent something, and there's multiple amounts, and you don't see that sometimes or care to look, right? So anyway, it's just some thoughts I had, because it's been entering my world. And when we started talking earlier off air, but off recording, you were telling me what you were doing. We were in a bookstore. Yeah. And then I didn't know about this. I go, here, check out this book.
And I said, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And it was a book about Greek myth, but the parts of Greek myth and the characters who were women, their stories have never been told. And in a sense, this book was filling in the gaps in those stories and from a different perspective, considering, how it was written, and more than half the stories in Greek myth are horrible. They're horrible. We're dealing with just a total power thing, and anyway, you could speak to that.
And it's not usually the women with the power. Let's put it that way, unless they have the power and then they're murdered for it because they're monsters. Because women with power are monsters in Greek.
Yes.
Minds, ancient.
Yeah, and then sort of the men in Greek culture making fun, and they have a laugh when all of a sudden there's this rage moment, or it's looked upon that way, right? If we're thinking about what's Persephone's mom again? I should know this. Not Artemis. Demeter, right? So Demeter's always mad because of this, and it's always grumpy, or even like Zeus's wife is always looked like she's pissed off and bitching all the time. It's it's kind of looked upon that way, and it was.
And she was written that way, and she wasn't written by women that way. And if you follow where these myths come from, because they don't just start from nowhere most of the time, they come from pre-existing stories, and you can follow the whole line back. She was the all-powerful deity, and then Zeus gets folded into the picture, and then she's written down to this person that's getting cheated upon all the time, and she's angry, and she didn't start out that way. So it's just a reflection of the culture, and it's very interesting to look at them in context in a bigger picture. Yeah. Very interesting.
And then when you look at other cultures and their myth and their whoever's representing, it doesn't really work that way, Anyway, this has been an interest of mine too, because as an astrologer, I'm dealing with clients. I'll be honest, I'm a straight dude. Most of my clients are 99% are women. I have had to learn that, step out of my space and to learn other stories, whether it's that or even taking on a more modern view of dealing with asteroids in astrology that can help color in a story. Totally. It's something of me that I'm always taking in to help facilitate or remediate stories with people. So anyway,
it's interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, and I'm psyched. I'm psyched too. I'm psyched to catch this when you're done, the lectures and stuff too. So, all right, that was the third question. I will drop those book links, by the way, in the copy.
Is there a fourth question?
Yeah, I'm going there. So what's interesting here is I sort of ask a fourth question or whatever, but this one means something. It's deeper. I don't usually do this. Earlier when we were talking, we're friends and we go places in a conversation, and we always put it on the table, you and I appreciate that, and it even shows up in your writing. It just shows up in your writing too, so it's not like some secret or anything. But if we were to talk about envisioning, there's different ways of doing this. Some could say intention, envisioning, a prayer, whatever. When it comes to envisioning for you, is this something that you were a kid that you were connected to, or is this something that you came to understand about yourself later?
Okay, so earlier you also asked me, am I spiritual, etc.? And I was like, we should do 3 questions. Okay, yes. So my answer is modern mystic, right? And that's sort of my tagline in my books and on my website. And I have natally Neptune is conjunct my sun in Sagittarius. So that's where the mystic's coming from. And Mars in Pisces. So, and I do have a couple of planets. Mercury and Venus are in the 8th house. There is that in Sag. And I would say I've always had been in tune with this other layer. That's always been really important to me, and I will call myself a creative person as well because of that. It's always been there, and I remember a friend and I discussing, when we were in grade 3 or something, do you think there's a God?
Yeah.
Because they had a Catholic family that weren't very Catholic, but sometimes they went to church, and I'd had a non-religious family, and I'm just, why do you do this? I'm already interested. We get the Jesus movies every Easter. I'm watching this. And I'm thinking, we're really thinking through it, and I came up with the answer that there was someone called Jesus, and there is a layer, there's a consciousness or a spirituality. I didn't have those words, but no, not like that story. That is like someone's written this story like that. And I'm not saying there's nothing. I'm not dismissing your religion, but I'm saying there's more. And then when I learnt more about there's so many different religions, it's just everyone's way of trying to bridge to this higher power. So I've definitely been aware of it mystic. I just feel like it's mystic.
Yes.
So when I do intentions, I guess that's my kind of tuning in and prayer, or doing something creative around it, like I was telling you about. I did a vision board, made a vision board, but that's part of grounding into this consciousness or our connection with that, which isn't rational. So it's just tuning in through the muses, you could say, creatively through this space, getting into that liminal vibrational feeling, which is, I find, it's that Neptunian side of myself.
Yes.
Did that answer the question?
It did, but I'm going to ask you the question that led up to this.
Okay.
Here you are.
In sunny Brisbane.
Sunny Brisbane. Wintertime.
Yeah.
Vanessa, where do you see yourself going?
In 5 years?
Sure. What's the first thing that's popping up for you?
I see myself traveling, actually. I see in 5 years much more lighter. I was mentioning earlier, when I get back, I've got to just really sit back and take a broad view of things and come up with a bit of a plan and a strategy and sort of organise things in by time. Mm-hmm. So that is still very open.
Yeah.
But, I get when you ask me the question, an openness, a spaciousness.
Yes. Okay, good. And I put you on the spot there because it's kind of a personal thing, but I also think that I'm one of these people, you could tell me what your world's like, but I'm one of these people that things aren't separate. So it's like if I do a YouTube video or I'm talking about the astrology for the week or whatever, I mean, there is that, but it's my view, my thing, and it's infused with me in my current life story. And possibly, since we're like doing some sort of predictive work, looking ahead, my biased story of what I'm thinking it might be for me is in the message. I don't think it's separated for me, right? So, and I think the reason why I'm bringing this up, it goes back to the power of story and the power of word, and what we do as astrologers, whether we're writing horoscopes or what we tell our clients, is to know where one is standing themselves. And then also then as we talk, when clients come to us and they're like, I'm going to think about this, or should I do this at this time, or will they come my way, or whatever it is. And in one sense, they're asking the universe, right? They are ritualizing, and we're doing it with them.
Totally.
So for me, part of why I asked you this is just for your own thing, and also to see what's going to happen, by the way, because it's going to be a video. Next, a year later, I'm like, hey, Vanessa, where are you? I'm traveling. So, but still, it just, I wanted to do that because for me, when I talk with you and I got to know, it's such a powerful part of who you are, just who you are to me. You explain some of your planetary placements, so on and so forth.
Exactly.
But I wanted to do that with you because you have no fear that way.
No, I have a fear of stagnancy.
Yeah.
Staying in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 planets in Sagittarius. I do love to travel. I'm here for a while because I've got to look after my cat, and when he RIPs, he's 16, I will have everything packed up and I will be on an aeroplane.
Yeah. Yeah, and
immediately.
And doing your thing. I mean, and some of the things too, just to let some of you know, because how many books have you written?
I've got 3 published books through Quadrille London currently: Star Power, Cosmic Power, and Astro Power, all astrology books. I do plan to do more. I'm going to go visit them when I'm in London, actually, and have a chat. But like I said, I've got to come back and look at my whole picture and decide what to do and plan and make a kind of timeline for myself.
Last time I was in Australia, I was in Burleigh, and I walked into a bookstore. There was your book.
They're around.
On a bookstore, Powell's, one of the biggest bookstores in the United States. There are all your books. I've been in the most random bookstores in the United States, used ones, new, whatever, and I always run into you, Vanessa. You're always there, and I always smile because I'm like, I don't know if it's not like I feel proud, but I'm like, oh, I know this person, and you're out of. I mean, I'm a person who's well-versed in astrology books. I used to work in a bookstore at conferences. I know all the books. You're one of maybe a couple people where it doesn't matter where I am. It's on a client's bookshelf or somewhere else. Like, you just are there.
Yeah.
You're just there.
They've been very successful,
Yeah.
especially the pink one. I think it was the color Star Power.
It is the design, the aesthetics.
Yeah,
but
very popular. And that one's on how to put together a birth chart. So it's the fundamental one.
Yeah, and sometimes when you see books aesthetically, you're thinking it's going to be surface level information, but all the placements that we've heard that you have, the Venus and the Mercury and Sag and all that, the depth and so on and so forth. It's funny, interesting. You said when you were third year that you're like, who is God, right? Just such a Sag thing, by the way.
Yeah,
but in your writing, there's just that underlying energy of just a deeper level, and it's accessible. I'm your cheerleader. I'm one of your fans. So sorry,
Thank you.
I'm fangirling right now. Is that what they call
Yeah,
this?
fangirling Astro All Stars.
Yeah. Vanessa, thanks for being spontaneous, on the fly, just doing 3 questions. Where can people find out about you, and where do they look?
Well, Sparkles, first I'll say thanks so much for coming all this way.
Yes.
And to Brisbane, out in the deck in Brisbane, Highgate Hill, Australia. Amazing. 2 kilometres from the city. And look at this.
Yeah.
You can find me at astroallstarswithaz.com. You can go from there. I'm quite happening on Instagram. I'm quite present there. I'm on TikTok and Facebook. You can find me all the places. Email me astroallstarswithaz@gmail.com. You can get readings with me. I do Zoom or in person, and definitely pick up my books. Right?
Yeah, I want to put all the book links. I'll put everything in the copy, your website, everything, all the stuff. I'll put it all there. I'm a huge fan of yours. I also like what you're doing on Instagram. Super creative, and you're always making me laugh because you're so good. I'm a trickster. You're your own trickster. You got your own way, my friend.
I do.
So yeah. Again, thanks for being on here, my friend, and yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a long way.
Until next time, everybody, we'll see you on the next video.
Ciao for now.